is detracted because of lack of really understanding of men of what has taken place, because they themselves have listened to man and not to God. Jesus in John 10:10 said that he came to give life and life abundantly. And that life that he came to give, he gave that life to us. And that's his life. But I've heard many a time people say, well, I gave my life to the Lord 15 years ago. I gave my life to the Lord 20 years ago. I gave my life to the Lord 10 years ago. No, you didn't. He gave his life to you.
Amen.
And when the focus is on man, on himself, then there's no power in that. Jesus was tempted by Satan, and he responded in one of the temptations and said, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. You and I, to stand strong in the fire, need to recognize that as we stand, we have a very firm and solid foundation. His name is Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And it's not us and our power and our strength being able to stand. It's recognizing on who we stand. Because then what it does, if we do not settle that in our hearts and in our minds, it can be really easy to become egocentric. That means self-centered, not theocentric, God-centered. And so we will run the race, if you will, focused on our abilities instead of the one who's dwelling within us, desiring to show himself through us for the power and the glory. And it's awesome to know that if we were to really rest on the fact that when we became born again, he gave his life to us. And every one of us, if you call yourself a Christian, you're never alone. No one can ever call you at your house and say, what are you doing? I'm here by myself. If you're a Christian, that's not true. You're lying. Christ is in you. Paul said, I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live. It's Christ that lives in me. And the life I live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. And he recognized that the life that he had was the life of Jesus living inside of him. And the life that he was going to live and demonstrate as an apostle was going to be always deflected to Jesus and Jesus' work, Jesus' ability. Jesus was his strength. Jesus is his life. See, I often said and shared with people, I don't live for Jesus. I can't. Jesus lives through me. Because I make myself available to Jesus so I can die to self and him come alive in me. And the more I realize that, the more I experience the power of God. And I stand firm. There's a consistency in the life of a man when he realizes that without Jesus he can do absolutely nothing. And that consistency is demonstrated by standing firm in the time, in the age in which he lives, in that little space, from the time he's born, in that little space to the day he dies. And that consistency is going to be visible because we are living in that relationship with Jesus where we're not trying to live out the Christian life. We have received the Christian life, that's Christ, and he's living his life through us. And people say, but doesn't that make you just lethargic? It just makes you like drag and you're not really active in the things of God. Let me tell you something. In my personal life, I'm very active in the things of God. And it's not because it's my self-effort. I would never accredit it to that. No way. I would accredit it to me recognizing the fact that as a child of God, I've been granted the privilege to be a vessel for his glory. And because he lives in me and lives his life through me, that I can have full faith and confidence that my life as a Christian has a purpose. And there's going to be great things working in and through my life because I serve a great God. And if you're called as a Christian today, and I don't know if all of you are Christian here, as a Christian, you have been granted that privilege of experiencing God's life every day. And because we know that, the decisions and the things and the actions we take, they're going to be actions that will follow and want to be pleasing unto God. But there is a battle that can't be ignored. And it's the battle of our flesh. The flesh that we carry within us, it's totally contrary towards the will of God. And because it's totally contrary to the will of God, we find ourselves battling within us. And really, that's enough, that battle that goes on within us, than having to be entangled and ensnared by the lies of Satan in the world.